Good evening, everyone. We'll now begin the evening service of the Miroku Association headquarters, expressing our gratitude to God and Meishu-sama for blessings and protection received while participating in the construction of paradise on earth. Amatsu-Norito and Miroku Prayer. Please stand.
Amahara ni kamuzumarimasu Kamorogi kamoromi no mikoto mochite Sume miyoya kamu izanagi no mikoto Tsukushi no imoka no tachihana no Odo no ahagi harani misogi harai tamo toki ni narimaseru Harai dono kami tachi moro moro no magabuto sumike gario Harai tamae kiyome tamae tomao sukoto no yoshio Amatsu kami kunitsu kami yao yorosu no kami tachi tomoni Kame no fuji koma no mimi furi tatete Kikoshi mese to kashikomi mo maosu Miroku o mikami mamori tamae saki hai tamae Miroku o mikami mamori tamae saki hai tamae Ushie niyoya nushi no kami mamori tamae saki hai tamae Ushie niyoya nushi no kami mamori tamae saki hai tamae Kam nagara tamachi haimase Kam nagara tamachi haimase Great God of light, creator and giver of all life, in accordance with your divine will, the long age of night draws to an end. Your radiant divine light, shining ever more brilliantly, awakens the dawn of the glorious age of light, a time long awaited by all humanity. We thank you for guiding us to your divine plan and for the privilege of channeling and receiving Johrei. May our spirits and bodies be illuminated and purified as we live your truth given to us by Meishu-sama. Make us pure and effective instruments of your divine light, so that we may serve you and all those with whom we come in contact. May paradise on earth be realized, with health, peace, and prosperity, a reality in our lives. Great God of light, bless and protect us. Radiate our souls with your divine light, so that we may truly become instruments of your grace.
Please be seated. We'll now receive group Johrei.
Obrigado, Meishu-sama. Bless you.
Johrei is now concluded. Now listen to a reading from Meishu-sama's teachings.
Teaching this evening is entitled Makoto. It's from Daily Inspirations, page 41. No matter how hard and steep the road may be, I can walk onward with happiness and ease if I have the staff of love to lean upon. The integrity of those who have no faith in God is shallow and superficial. Those with faith have true integrity. Though we may speak thousands of words smoothly, if they do not come from hearts full of Makoto, they are empty and powerless. The vibratory power of speech can cause miracles. The universe is filled with ether, in which its basic sounds, with all their variations in frequency, are in continual vibratory motion. These are the soundless sounds and voiceless voices filling the ether, which human ears cannot hear. By means of its frequencies, all things in the universe come into existence, and they in turn emit certain wavelengths of sound. The words we utter are impressed upon the ether that surrounds us, creating vibrations that influence the spiritual realm. Noble or positive words emit high vibrations, which diminish the clouds in the spiritual world, while ugly or negative words emit low vibrations, which increases the clouds. The wavelengths of the words that convey good and loving thoughts are in attunement with the law of truth, virtue, and beauty. They are pleasing to the human ear because they penetrate the mind and contact the soul, the center of awareness. Conversely, bad and hateful words do not reach the soul but stop at the mind. It is also important to note that it is not only the vibrations of the words themselves that determine their effect, but also the degree of purity of the spiritual being uttering them. The purer the soul, the more powerful will be the vibrational waves emitted by the words being uttered. Therefore, we must always do our utmost to raise our vibrations to a higher plane, so our words will have greater power. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining this evening service of the Miroku Association headquarters. In our prayers, we elevate our thoughts for all the victims of Hurricane Ida and how so many were affected in Louisiana and surrounding areas. So let's keep all these people in prayer. More than 1 million people without power. Let's do our part in prayers. I'd like to share faith experience from Karine Pereira Silva. She's from the Oeiras Cascais Johrei group in Portugal. A few years ago in Barcelona, when Karine rented an apartment, she and her husband had been cheated. When they realized what was happening, they no longer had the deposit money and the scammer was gone. They came to Portugal and since then, they have been looking for apartments for rent. They visited an apartment that had everything they wanted, the price, the conditions, the lease, the location. In short, it was everything they had asked God and Meishu-sama for at the altar. The next day, her husband met with the pseudo-owner, signed a paper confirming the deposit, and they received a copy of the pseudo-owner's identity card. This attitude gave them confidence and tranquility regarding the business they were about to engage with. He told them that they would have to wait because he wanted to do some work on the house. They gladly accepted to wait. After 10 days, they went to the property to monitor the work progress and take measurements. To their amazement, no work was underway, and when asked why, he gave them a convincing justification and assured them that everything would be ready soon. On the same day, they received a call from the police asking if they had rented a property from Mr. X. They confirmed it, and the police revealed that they had been cheated. The alleged owner was detained for deceiving other people, and who in fact was a real estate agent and not the owner of the properties. With these revelations and due to the same event in the past, they got nervous and ended up arguing. In the middle of the discussion, Karini's husband, who is not a member, asked her where God Meishu-sama were at this time, because she had told him that the apartment had been God's permission. She told him that everything is for learning and growth, and not to worry because they would get their money back. But actually within her, she felt a strong repulse and wondering why this situation of fraud was repeating itself. After 2 days of reflection, she decided to call her minister to report what was happening and ask for guidance. The minister said that she should pray at the altar to God and Meishu-sama to report what happened and ask the name of this scammer to pray for him and his ancestors, to thank him for being used for the salvation of their ancestors, for their spiritual growth and spiritual cleansing of their money, and also handing over to God and Meishu-sama the result of their contact with him. The minister suggested that since Karini didn't expect to receive this money back, but if she did, the idea would be to donate half of it as gratitude for the salvation of these spiritual debts. Because Meishu-sama teaches us that when receiving unexpected blessings, one should offer 50% to God. Make an ikebana, that was a continuing minister's suggestion. Make an ikebana for the happiness of the scammer who mocked them, his guardian spirit, and the ancestors who were manifesting, and also read the study material entitled Mechanism of Salvation. Read that several times a day to help her deepen the feeling of gratitude and be connected to God through this situation. Based on the guidance received, she made a flower of light, read the Mechanism of Salvation study material several times to change her feelings and be able to express her sincere gratitude for connecting herself to God. In addition, she had to talk to her husband about committing to make 10% donation of the amount they would earn, because this decision did not depend only on her. The day after this practice, they called this scammer to find out if the house was ready. He didn't know. They had been contacted by the police and tried to trick them by guaranteeing that on the 15th the house would be ready. As they saw that he was going to keep telling the same story, they decided to tell, even over the phone, that they already knew everything and about the police contact. He quickly apologized, saying it was all a big mistake, and asked for their account number to transfer the money. On the same day, he indeed transferred an amount slightly above what they had given him. With this experience, she deepened the feeling of knowing how to wait for the right moment, expressing gratitude even when, in our eyes, everything is wrong and it seems that God is not acting. Feelings of gratitude binds us with God and allows God to act even when we find it impossible. Karini materialized her gratitude through the donation of 10% of the amount they received, and with the notion that this suffering of their ancestors is deep, and therefore she needs to create challenges in order to do her very best. She pledged to distribute flowers of light with a sowing to take care of others for their salvation and that of their ancestors. As she still has not been able to move, she has already distributed 27 flowers of light to her current neighbors. And thanks to that, she started to channel Johrei to 5 people in 4 different homes. With that, she understood why the time was not right yet for her to move. Aline is very thankful to God and Meishu-sama for these blessings and is conscious that through this experience she has had her faith strengthened. And I have another experience that I would like to share, if you just allow me. This one is from Paulo Pires. He's from Copacabana, Brazil. Paulo has been a Johrei member for 2.5 years. In April of this year, his 10-year-old son was hit in the right eye by a ball during a game of indoor soccer, which is quite heavy. This kind of ball is quite heavy in this type of sport. At the same time, he reported that he could not see with his injured eye. Very apprehensive, they immediately went to the emergency room for neurological tests, which showed no damage. They also went to an eye clinic where he underwent several tests. The diagnosis was retinal edema, compromising 55% of vision. As he is a child, there was no indication for surgery, but a treatment based on eye drops was prescribed, which would take 6 to 12 months. Besides that, he would need to rest, he shouldn't lower his head, and he wouldn't be back practicing sports anytime soon. At the same time, Paulo and his wife feared that recovery would not go as expected and that there might be irreversible consequences. He reported what happened to his minister, who requested their visit at the Johrei Center. The minister recommended that his son receives as much Johrei as possible, and the minister began channeling to Paulo's son right away. From that day on, his son received Johrei intensively, whether it was channeled by the minister, by visiting missionaries, or by Paulo himself, even at night while his son was sleeping. His son reported that he felt very good with Johrei and relieved from the discomfort caused by the injury. 15 days after the event, they went back to the specialist doctor and the edema and eye pressure had decreased. They continued unwaveringly with the treatment of intensive Johrei. After 2 weeks, they went to the eye clinic again. Upon examining the son, the doctor was amazed. There was no more edema and he had regained 90% of his vision. The specialist was definite. She had never seen in her entire career such a recovery. The problem that, according to her, would take from 6 months to a year was solved in just a month. She explained to them that given the situation, medical treatment or special care would no longer be necessary, and that his child's own body would gradually recover the retina. Paulo's son returned to his normal routine of playing and practicing sports with no restrictions. For Paulo, this miracle was a proof of the strength of Johrei, which solidified his faith and awakened him to the mission he has as a father to support his children in their spiritual development, helping them to find the path that leads to God. Paulo is immensely grateful to God and Meishu-sama for the protection given to his family, and he reinforces his commitment to continue carrying out our practice of faith at home, as well as to be useful through dedications within and outside the Johrei Center. Thank you very much for listening to these faith experiences. I wish you a very wonderful evening. Thank you.
This brings to a conclusion our evening service. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and have a blessed evening.